Hello everyone. My name is Gerard Johnson. I'm a counselor with General Counseling with the CES pathway. It's towards the end of the day. I know we're all a little bit used our energy up during the week. If okay, great. You guys can see the PowerPoint. Awesome. So if we're talking and you can't hear us, or if I'm talking and I'm mumbling, please let me know. That way I can speak more clearly. Today we have with us our presenters, Amanda Velasquez from CalWorks, a counselor from CalWorks. We got Evie Conchetas, counselor with General Counseling with ACL Pathway. We got Susanna Garcia, a general counselor and business pathway counselor. And then I'm going to mispronounce your last name, Cami.
Tepavon.
Cami Tepavon. Our health and sciences pathway presenter.
We also have to be the person.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we have three people looking at us while we talk to the computer. And before Evie gets in and starts getting this presentation going, just want to give a little soft opening into Early Alert. I know many of you are aware of Early Alert Starfish, but just keep in mind, it's a program that we use that is a tool for communication. What we want to make sure we're doing is we're using it to communicate and collaborate with each other for the betterment of our students. So for those of us who are instructional faculty with us today, it starts with you and working with your students. And if you see a need, using that system to make awareness of the need. And then the counselors will respond to that. And the goal is for us to work with you in supporting the students and make sure that we provide the best service that we can and helping our students navigate through the challenges, whatever they may be. So with that said, without further ado, I want to bring to you Evie Conchetas.
Welcome. Thank you for being here in person. Thank you for those of you who are online. This is a presentation on how we can both work together to help our students succeed. And hopefully throughout the presentation, you'll be able to see the importance of utilizing Early Alert as a way to have those conversations and assist students who are struggling academically and socially. So in the process of creating the Early Alert program, we have leads that are assigned to a pathway, depending on the areas that you're in. All of us that are here, except Julie Lyons, who is Tech and Trades. And we are here to provide you that extra information that you might not have in relation to what and how we can serve your pathway. So today's objectives, of course, is to identify the at-risk student and become familiar with Starfish. And what does that do? It will provide timely interventions, understanding the framework for delivering timely interventions and support to students. We are in the process of promoting equity, incorporating equity components into the program to address disparities in access and resources, and evaluate the effectiveness of Early Alert and how we can continue to refine the program itself and provide extra services to help students succeed. So Gerard will go over the diversity slide to help us understand how this in itself is related to Starfish Early Alert.
Okay. So I'm back. And what we really want to talk about is the potential to use Early Alert to help with equity and DEIA efforts on our campus. We've already made some adjustments to increase our response times with our rapid response project that we did last academic year, and look, we're going to continue with that. That came from working with instructional faculty and getting their input in terms of what needs to improve with early alert. And then as a result of doing that, we saw some gaps in our services and our processes to where we address those as well. But those efforts were not driven by getting data and information from our disproportionately impacted students. That's just us working with each other. The next steps is to get data from our disproportionately impacted students, our students who are identified in our equity plan. So from there, we need to put forth the efforts of one, getting the data, two, getting input from students if we can, along with our faculty partners and our counseling partners to start moving towards a more intentional focus. Because in generally, when we're talking about equity, I know we use it as a general term, but what we want to be mindful of is equity is about being intentional, which is why we've identified groups who are disproportionately impacted. So if we decide that we're going to take an initiative and we do it and we say, oh, it's for equity, that's not truly equity. Okay, so we got to use data, intentionality, being focused on particular groups, not just saying helping colored students or students of color. Our equity plan identifies African American, LGBTQ students, Chicano Latino students, and our groups within the Southeast Asian student group. So we need to be intentional with those focus to really foster equity. And we are mindful of that as we move forward. And the first step starts with data. And unfortunately, we don't have that yet. We don't have control of all those processes. But once we get it, we will share with our instructional colleagues and other counseling colleagues and work towards moving forward effectively, and not to mention working with the students.
So for those of you that can't see me, I'm Amanda, and I am the counselor in the CalWorks office, as they mentioned. And I'm going to talk about some of the challenges in student success. I mean, we could go ahead and read the bullets if we want to, but I thought it would be more effective if coming from a CalWorks counselor, maybe some stories that I went through with students this past academic year that I feel touch on multiple topics that you see on this list. I'm going to share three, what I hope are short stories from students. And I just want to keep in mind, when we were at convocation on Wednesday, I really liked that Dr. Goldsmith brought up kindness, and I forgot the gentleman's name from Stanford. He brought up empathy. So if we could keep those two things in our hand and pull them out when we need to, it's going to be great, right? So the first story, I had a gentleman come into my office just before school started last year, and he disclosed to me that he had been incarcerated for 20 years and had been out for about a year before he decided to come back to school and try and do something different with his life. He was really excited about going to Fresno State, but just wasn't sure what major he wanted to be in. He was very nervous about coming to school. He was unsure if he would be accepted here on campus, but he was going to give it a try anyways. He knew we did some talking. He provided me with some transcripts. He was almost done with all of his general education. He did very well in his classes, and he was excited. We talked about different student success strategies, like talk to your instructor, be on time. We looked over Canvas, but as you all know, sitting down and talking to a student about Canvas before school starts and them sitting alone in a room trying to do homework are two completely different things. And I want to mention that the stories that I'm sharing are just stories as experiences that students told me. First, this student remembered he was struggling sitting at home, couldn't turn in his homework, so he remembered what I said to him, get to know your instructors, right? One thing I didn't mention is, and it shouldn't matter, but this student did have multiple visible tattoos on his face, on his arms. And two, when a student is incarcerated or somebody is incarcerated and is taking college courses, they are generally correspondence courses. So meaning they're handwriting their homework and submitting it through mail to get that credit. So he really wasn't familiar with technology. So he went and talked to his instructor, and he decided that he was going to disclose that he had been incarcerated for 20 years. Instead of pulling out that kindness and empathy, or even just raising an early alert flag, the instructor told him, oh, well, that figures. So of course, that student was very discouraged. He was hurt. He felt defeated. We came in, we talked, he did end up dropping that class, but I'm happy to report came back the spring semester and aced that course. So he was really excited. Story number 2 has to do with a student who has been working her butt off to get into one of the allied health programs. And she finally got in after a couple of times to apply. So we're really proud of her. And as we all know, economic times are hard, housing insecurities, food insecurities. So a lot of our students are working part-time, full-time, are raising children, or have a dependent at home who they are caring for, brothers, sisters. And so she was super excited. She started the school year and then she lost her housing. She has 2 teenagers. She had a 12-year-old and she had just had a baby. She had no family support here in Fresno. So what she decided to do was, let me back up. Through CalWorks, we were able to find her a hotel room that she could stay in until she had housing. However, that first weekend that she was there, an incident happened. It was on the news. She decided that that was not the best place for her children at that time. She felt it was okay for her, but she really didn't want to keep her kids there. So she reached out to a family member up north and was able to take her kids to the Bay Area until she was able to secure housing. She, of course, disclosed this to her instructors because, get to know your instructors, right? And they were super helpful. They raised a flag, thankfully we were aware of the situation going on, but we were able to connect with her faculty, instructional faculty, and her and provide her support through that journey. So I'm happy to report she did very well this past year and she's going into her second year, will be graduating at the end of this school year. So instructors raised a flag and we were able to work together. Third story I want to share is, we meet with students. We thought she had everything she needed, but about midway through the semester, she stopped showing up to one of her classes. She hadn't reached out to our office. We just assumed everything was good, and a flag was raised. So I reached out to her, and it just turned out she didn't have a childcare provider. I say just because with CalWorks, we're able to assist with childcare. What she didn't know, and what I didn't know, what she didn't disclose to me, was that she was having an issue because she had an evening course and the childcare center closed at 6. So once I spoke to her, I was able to say, oh, that's an easy fix. Let me call your county worker. We called her county worker. And by the end of that week, she had secured childcare. She was able to go back to class, pass the class successfully. So all of that to say is, even if you don't know what's going on in that student's life, but you see that they're not there, or maybe they do disclose something to you, and maybe you're like, whoa, I don't know what resources you may have access to, raise that flag because you never know what program that they are part of and what resources we can help them with.
So we want to give you an introduction of what Early Alert is. Starfish has a few other components, but the concentration today is more of the Starfish and what this can do for students. So in Starfish, students can request assistance. If students are struggling with finding maybe a way to communicate with the counselor, they can raise their hand. If they're having housing insecurity, food insecurities, maybe they're looking for a job, Starfish can provide them the opportunity to raise their hand. Once they raise their hand, then all of this information comes to specific people, and we in turn respond to those requests. If they want to see a counselor, there's someone assigned to the link and they make appointments. If they're requesting assistance for basic needs like housing and food, that goes directly to the new program that they have to help students with all that basic need. So encourage your students to look into their Starfish page, and if they want to raise their hand, again, this is something that they can do on their own portal, so that the ability for them to get the assistance is there. So request assistance is one. Then once a semester, we also sent out a survey to students. In this survey, not everybody responds. Last semester, we only had 1,000 students who responded to the survey, but the survey itself is asking questions like, do you know your major? Have you met with the counselor? Are you having food insecurity, housing insecurity? And if so, of course, when we had the housing program here, we would refer them to the HOPE program. Now that's going to transition over to the basic needs program, but we're going to continue to provide that service to them. So if the student responds to the survey once a semester, they can again get a response from someone and be connected to the service that they're requesting. So this is the stats for last semester or last year. This is on housing and food insecurity. And as you can see, the need has grown. In fall of 21, we only had 735 students requesting or had issues with food insecurity, housing insecurity. And now, as you can see from the people who have responded to those surveys, we have a lot more people who are in greater need. So when it comes to Starfish Early Alert, it's not only about the academics that we're concerned about, we're also concerned about their social life because that is also impacting their education. So if we can help in the process of guiding students over to programs that can serve them, then we are minimizing the risk of students either failing a class or simply them not attending anymore. So our concentration with Early Alert is retention and persistence. And this is one way that we can all help in the process, that if you see something, hear something, that you refer that student to us or just talk to the student about the services available to them. This is again, just a slide on some of the raised flags that we have available to students. So connecting with the counselor, financial aid, career assessments, any specialized programs, connecting with a counselor, just more on financial aid and tutorial services. So once a student is flagged, that information is being sent over to the specialized programs and the services provided. We are a district-wide program, so if a student is taking classes at Fresno City College, but they are primarily at maybe Clovis, Reedley, Madera, it is still, if the instructor from Fresno City College flags the student, then FCC is the one responding to the flag. So we work together with the counselors in all of the various campuses. We make sure that those students are given the necessary services either here at Fresno City College or referred back to their primary campus. And we follow up with the services, we follow up with the student just to make sure that all of those services, the student was provided services. So I think, Susana, this is your area.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susana Garcia, one of the counselors. And right here, we see the different tracking items that we have within Early Alert. So we have kudos. Those are the feedback, the positive feedback that you give to students. You can give kudos to students at any point in time during the semester. A lot of instructors, they do that after their first test, so that just to give them, a high five to students that they're doing good. So that is the opportunity to celebrate the students doing well in their classes. We have flags as well, and Evie went over some of those as well. And the flags help the instructor raising those flags to say that the student needs maybe additional resources to do well in classes, or for the student to used to keep an eye on what exactly that they need, maybe attending classes or submitting assignments or whatever it might be. So we have the different flags that you can utilize for that. There are referrals as well. So you can, if you see a student that needs resources or services from another department, then you can provide those referrals as well. And those students can be directly connected to those resources as well. And we have some to-dos as well. So those are the tasks that that you can create for students. Those to-dos are mostly for special programs, counselors who raise those to-do items for students to complete, but you will be able probably to see them as well if you are looking into the tracking items for that particular student. So the titles, right here, you see the different titles or the different flags that we have available for instructors. These flags are district-wide. So for a Fresno City College instructor, when you're raising a flag, then you will probably have to scroll down the menu to find the Fresno City College. So those flags are sent to the appropriate counselors and the appropriate services that the students need to. This is one of the templates that students received when the flag is raised. So the student's name is actually inserted in there as well as the name of the instructor who have raised that flag. And then we provide some resources for the students, including links to their resources and their phone numbers. And then the student can go from there. And if the flag is not resolved, the counselors will reach out as well to provide those services to the students. This is another email template that we use for the different flag. This is for the concern with your work in progress. So again, the name of the student, the name of the instructor is in there, inserted in there, as well as the course, the class, and they can connect it to different programs and services as well. This is the other email template that we use for general concern. Did you want to? And then for the general concern, we will allow instructors to include a comment. What is the general concern? Abby?
So one of the things about the templates is that we have worked with the instructional faculty to create those previous templates. The general concern is not an email that we sent out to students, because usually that is a concern that is non-academic. And we want the instructor to let us know what they see. What if the student is falling asleep in class and you notice a change in the behavior? Maybe there is something that the student has mentioned to you. Then you can actually utilize general concern for that type of activity. I know we have had many instructors who have utilized the general concern after they have attempted several times to reach out to the student because they're missing assignments, they're missing classes, and we have to figure out, they want to figure out what is going on with the students. So they utilize general concern, but we want to emphasize the need for a general concern to be more of a social issue. For the fact that we take priority in responding to this flag, we have had many incidents where students have made a comment to an instructor, and the instructor, yes, they refer to psychological services. They call PD to make sure they follow up if the student is in danger. But we too follow up on those type of flags, and we have in previous years saved students' lives because they are at a point where the student is at the edge, and the intervention that they are provided, the fact that somebody looked into their life and they felt that this was a that they felt seen and important, made a difference in the students' lives. So this is why it's so important that the general concern is utilized for what it is intended to do, to be a source of communication between the counselor and the instructor, to provide that intervention, that if we have to follow up with campus police, if we have to follow up with psychological services or any other type of community resource, that is where the general concern flag will come in. And at this point, if you have any questions, please type them in and we'll respond to them. Or throughout the presentation, if you have any type of question, please let us know. Susanna, you can continue on with.
Yeah. So this is another template that we have for the health and psychological services referral that you can raise as well. There's no counselor intervention for this one, but the health and psychological services will reach out to the student for this. DSPNS referrals uses, you can use this referral to refer students to DSPNS. This referral will not show up on the student as a DSPNS referral, but the student will provide information on support services and contact information so that they can make that initiative to go to that resource and receive the services that they need. So Fresno City general concern. So from here,
that was going to be your how to raise a flag.
Okay, so how to raise a flag. So from here, actually, so when you get into Starfish, you will log in, get into Starfish, and then you will actually click on the hamburger right next to where it says Starfish, and that will open up the menu. From there, you will go into the student tab. From there, you will go into the student tab again, and that will open up the menu where you will be able to see and or select your classes, and then we'll see the list of your students that you have in your classes. And from there, you will be able to raise the flags or kudos or referrals for those students manually as well. And we have progress reports that we send out several times during the semester. So that will be within that survey that we send out. You can raise flags as a group, but you can also able to raise flags manually. So right here, I guess so this picture or it shows you where the progress updates, you will be able to see them as once we send those out. It will tell you right here how many progress updates you will have, depending on how many courses are you teaching that semester. Or you can always go into the connection and select the class that you want to raise the flag for the student that in the class that the student is enrolled in. As well as once you select the student that you want to raise the flag, then this other window will pop up. And then from here, you can select the whatever flag you want to raise. You will save that. And then right here will be where you will provide the comments to the counselor or what is the concern that you are or why you're raising this flag. So this is the general flag. You must include comments. If you don't complete or you don't submit or include your comments in this one, it will not allow you to submit it. It will give you an error message, if anything. Tracking your flags. So some instructors have questions about once you raise a flag, how do I know what has been done? What is the progress on that flag? So, but for tracking, you will go again into the hamburger right here, select students from the menu, and then this will be the window that they will open. From here, you will go into the tracking tab, and then you will be, from the view, you will select raised by me, the flags that you have raised by, for you by yourself. And then you will see the list of all the flags that you have raised for all your classes. And then if you hover over the student's name, you will be able to click on, it's a link, you will be able to click on that. And then it will open up this other little window where you can actually detail, or you will be able to just go into the flag. This window will pop up and then you can detail into this so that you can see what has been the progress on that flag, whether a counselor has been reach out to the student already, or an email has been sent out, or multiple phone calls has been done, whatever, all the progress for that flag, you will be able to see it right there. As well as you will be able to see the status of the flag, whether it is still active, which means that it's still opened, or if it has been resolved, which means that the flag has been closed already and the student has been reached out and provide the resources that the student needs.
That's right.
That's right.
However, let's go back I know we have some questions. Let's before we go on to Gerard again, if we can have those questions, we can answer those.
From what, do you have a recommendation of when to use Maxium or Starfish for behavioral concerns?
So Maxium is very different than early alert because that is a behavioral issue, and that is something between the instructor and the dean that is in charge of behavioral issues. Yes, there are some instances that we do get those flags assigned to us, but it's maybe a disgruntled student that slams the door, or maybe there's some behavior issues that are not a danger to the instructor or to other students yet. So please utilize the system where you can connect to the dean who addresses those behavioral issues compared to more of the social issues. We are counselors that can provide services. We can refer them to mental health services. However, it makes sure that we are addressing issues appropriately.
Are early alert counselors available during the summer? I raised flags for a couple of students this past summer, but never received a reply or response for either one.
We usually do not have, we do not have progress updates during the summer, only because most of the full-time counselors are gone. If you raise the flag manually, that was and should have been assigned to a counselor that was working during the summer. And if they didn't get a hold of the student, or they close the flag without reaching out to the student, might be because of what Gerard will talk about in this new process that we have for early alert.
The last one is, all of your student services are great. FCC has a required new student orientation. Are your survey questions asked in the orientation?
Survey questions asked during the orientation.
No, because not everybody's mandated to attend an orientation. We have freshmen that come in through RAM Ready. We have special programs that provide that orientation. But not every single student comes through. And it is not part of early alert.
The survey is always available for students through Starfish, so they can always go into the Starfish portal or dashboard and then go into the survey to respond to those questions.
It seems like we have lost the PowerPoint for some reason. Oh,
There you go.
oh, I think we went.
It went to sleep.
Okay. Wake up. Gerard will talk about a new process that we have for early alert.
Apparently it's nap time. The computer went to sleep on us. So what the heck are we looking at? Good question. So what we tried to do was to respond quicker to flags in a short amount of time, so instructors that aren't waiting so long for responses. And as I mentioned earlier, we ran into some challenges internally with actually meeting that. We realized we had a lot of adjuncts covering responding to flags who within a week or two period, they were only with us a day or two. So that affected the response time or the response accuracy with that. Okay, so I saw, thank you so that's Rebecca. And then we also noticed that within our own processes, if someone was out sick, we didn't know if someone was out sick. So those of us who were leading pathway teams didn't know. So we're assigning flags to people who was out giving birth or something, or was out, with an emergency, and we just didn't know. So it really helped us try to look at some gaps in our processes. So you see here, we're looking at September, between September and November. If you look at the bottom of the chart, that's really looking at that time of when we're trying to respond before the drop period. So that's where we have that peak there. And that's showing you guys' work in terms of getting those flags out there. So that's really appreciative of keeping that response. Just understand there's only so many of us, so sometimes we just don't get the flags, and within that week or two period time. What we've adjusted to is allowing counselors to hold on to a flag if they feel like they need to, either as a student who's a part of a program, or they feel like the situation is such to where they really want to hold on to it and keep trying. We just ask that they communicate with you folks, let them know that's going on. Communication is an important piece. But you guys got these gnarly charts in front of you. Probably don't make 100% sense. But with that said, do you have any questions regarding our rapid response efforts that we're trying to help you guys out with? And I'm looking at a blank screen. I don't see any faces. I got a hand in live. Yeah, that helps. Yes.
Second semester adjunct.
Gotcha.
I did not really get a head start last semester, so I didn't get introduced to this before, and I don't know how to use it.
Okay.
But for the response time, if I'm trying, even if I know how to process,
Yeah.
is there about an average time turnaround for specific things, or an average time you have a goal to turn things around for it? So that I can keep that in mind when I'm working with students.
So good question. So the question is, I don't know if you guys can hear her, but the question was basically, do we have a response time goal when we receive flags? That's part of the rapid response plan, is to actually give us a goal to respond to the flags instead of holding on to them until we reach the student, because that can take for a long time. So the goal is with the rapid response is to respond within 2 weeks, week or two. That's the ideal. If you're not getting feedback, or if you look at it and you don't see any interaction with the flag, feel free. You can see who was assigned to you. You can reach out to that counselor, or you can reach out to the lead. And sometimes it could be more effective to reach out to the lead, in that the person assigned to it is usually an adjunct or can be an adjunct counselor. And it depending on their comfort level, if they're newer, they may feel a little bit extra pressure if a tenured instructor is reaching out to them, letting them know about something that maybe they should have been taken care of. Maybe we can address it a little bit softer. Well, at least Abby can address it softer. It might not come so soft for me. But nonetheless, yeah, so communication is the key. But in terms of people online, anyone have a question, or is this universal nap time? I think they gave me the least interesting slides. That's what we're dealing with right now. Okay.
Yes, sir. I have a general question, which is this semester I'm teaching early college.
Mhm.
So is early alert, is that available to my high school students?
Yes.
Yes, if they're in classes, they should be available. And who am I listening to?
Sabjit Johal.
Oh, okay.
Johal.
Nice to hear from you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, you should have access to flag those students as well.
And there's counselors assigned.
And there's counselors assigned for that as well. So feel free to reach out to them. And again, the communication is key. So if you're curious about something, feel free to just reach out and send an email because you'll see who's assigned to the flags. And that's what reminds me of one more thing we're going to try, or I'm going to test run in CES. And that is not assigning flags solely to adjuncts. And the full-timers keep the flags, but we have adjuncts who work with us to address those flags. That way we can cover that gap of period where adjunct isn't there. And then if the full-timer is not there, at least that adjunct has access to those flags and they can be addressing it when we can't. So just be more of a streamlined team effort. That is something that actually CalWorks had modeled last semester, and it seemed to work very well. All right. All right. Cami, watch they wake up when it's your turn.
This is our last slide, correct? So hang in there, we're almost done. Hi, everyone in the room, as well as via Zoom. My name is Cami Tapavong. I am the lead early learner counselor for Health and STEM. However, my other assignment is I also coordinate a special program here on campus. We have a lot of great support services and programs here, and I run the UCA program, which focuses on Southeast Asian students. So I thought it would be a really neat idea to kind of show everyone the kind of like insight on how we assign flags, right? Because as instructors, you raise flags and you kind of wonder, okay, where does it all go? Like I know we have pathways, but before we hit pathways, we actually intentionally assign these flags for students who are coded to be part of a special program here on campus. And the reason why we do that is we want to be intentional in making sure to connect with folks they are already comfortable with, correct? Right? So for example, like with my program, we have a cohort of students that has a designated counselor that works with them for a whole year. And then after the year, then we still follow up with them. So obviously these counselors already know the students, know their names, know their majors, and really know them personally. So what does that mean? That means students, when we reach out to them, they will respond, through email or phone calls because they recognize the number, they recognize the name, correct? So that's what we do. When you assign students, our support staff in the counseling will make sure and they will filter out students who have a code. So the first line of students that we assign to, if they're an athlete, then they will go to our athletic counselor, right? So I'm going to go through every single one of these, but these are all the programs that we have here on campus. And as a group in our early alert team, we kind of prioritize who should be assigned first and where. And there's certain reasons, right? So for athletics, there's a lot of policies of, like they have to be a full-time student and other things that they have to do. So obviously with general counseling, if we're not in that role, we wouldn't know all those policies and all those things that that eligibility requirements, things like that. So that's why we have Brandon, who's our counselor for athletics first. Then we have dual enrollment, early college. I know we had someone that talked about high school students. And then design science is the next one. And CalWorks, I know CalWorks are very strict rules as well as for those who are part of, who are a student of CalWorks program. And it kind of goes down the priority list that way. And then towards the end, you'll see our pathways, right? The ACL, business, CS, health and STEM, tech and trades. So these students who are not part of any programs will come to us, like myself. I have a team of folks in health and STEM that I assign flags to. And we're trying our best to kind of build that rapport with our students. That's why we have these pathways. Prior to pathways, as you all know, students kind of come and they see anybody in general counseling, regardless of their major. And that could be, hard for students because then they see different counselors all the time. It's a little bit smaller. Instead of seeing, 40 counselors, and now we have maybe each pathway has maybe, depending on how large the pathway is, maybe 10, 12. So it kind of narrows down the pool a little bit. And so, we try our best to really reach out and build that rapport with the students. And going back, another thing is that I know Evie had mentioned this earlier. When you refer students, it may be academic, non-academic. We cover a lot in the time that when we meet with them, but it is challenging. I'll be honest, to get a hold of these students, right? We do phone calls, email. Some of us try Google Text, and that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. The best way to get a hold of students, from my experience, is the phone calls. I leave voicemails, and they usually call me back. But then we also kind of listen to them and kind of get to know them. And if they are eligible for any programs on campus, we push them to encourage them to apply, because that's when they're going to have the real connections of having an assigned counselor. And then you look at our dashboard for any special program, our retention and persistence rates are very high compared to, just general students that are not connected to any program. Okay, so it's kind of a glimpse on how we assign our students. Okay, we do have a question. I don't see fully the whole question there. Yeah, can you please?
What is the advantage of raising flags during the early alert timeframe versus as issues arise with students throughout the semester?
See,
What's the advantage?
the advantage
The advantage of, okay,
of raising the flag when the progress updates are go out.
oh, and the progress reports. and so-
Oh. Okay. I'll try to answer that question. It's not necessarily that it's an advantage, but the ideal is to get to them early, hence early alert. The progress surveys is just a way to get mass response. Instructors can use the system at any time. But if we're gonna have times where we have mass responses, then we try to be strategic about that before drop deadlines or certain deadlines and things of that nature. And that's where it was handy talking to instructional faculty to get their input in terms of when good times of the year of when to do the progress surveys. So actual advantage, I don't know if I can say there's an advantage as much as there's an idea, there's a plan. Does that answer the question? See, people go to sleep when I talk.
No, there's coming, it's coming. You
Oh,
gotta give them time to type.
okay, so yes, thank you. Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay, so any other questions about how we assign flags, the process, or anything in general? Because this is the last slide.
Yeah, Cami, I have a question that I think is obvious, but I just want to double check.
Sure.
So for those of us who are primarily teaching GE classes and our students are not our majors, those students will be referred to. So in philosophy, if they're not a philosophy major, but it's a philosophy class, they'll be referred to whatever major they're in, not to the CES pathway counselor, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
See this pathway based off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so we basically assigned based on what major they have in the system. Right, so we do get a lot of English 1As, math, and general ed courses that refer students. And yes, we assign them to the pathway, or they're in a program, right? If they're in a support program, we assign them to the counselor there. Anything else? And we do have some links here for those who are maybe new to the college. Welcome. And would like to get some training. We do one-on-one trainings as well, right, Evie? You want to?
Yes, we do. We have, I have not done the calendar for the fall, only because I'm in the process of moving over to the West Fresno campus. And but those trainings are fully 100% via Zoom. You can do some outreach and get a hold of me, and I'll provide you the step-by-step guide on how to raise a flag. But there's also a resource available to you. If you look into that link, there's a guide that will help you step-by-step on how to raise a flag. We used to have a Canvas page, but all of the documents are now uploaded onto the second link that you see there. So Please utilize that, utilize our services as a communication between you and the counselor and the student so that we can help them succeed. I saw a question there, but I lost it in the process. Any other questions or concerns? I know we are going to finish a little early, but please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for those of you who are here in person. We appreciate you taking the time to do so. For those of you online, thank you again for being part of this presentation. And with that, I believe we are done for today.
Thank you so much.